I didn't grow up thinking of myself as someone who gets nervous, not in a brave way, more in an oblivious way. I just hadn't noticed what I was avoiding until a few weeks ago when I was walking home and started humming something under my breath and then, for some reason, tried to sing it out loud. Not out loud in my apartment, out loud outside on the street. I barely got through 2 words before I dropped back to a hum. I looked around. Nobody was even close to me. The street was half empty. I was alone, and I still couldn't do it. That bothered me. I stopped walking and just stood there for a second thinking about it. When was the last time I'd actually let my voice carry in public? Not a conversation, not asking someone for directions. I mean, really projected, really let it go without caring who was nearby. I couldn't remember, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized the answer was probably never, or at least not since I was young enough that it didn't register as something to be embarrassed about. So I started paying attention over the next few days. I noticed I spoke quieter on the subway, even when the train was loud. I noticed I'd lower my voice in a park if someone walked past. I noticed I would wait until I was sure no one was nearby before I'd sing along to whatever was in my headphones. All of it small, all of it automatic, all of it below the surface until I went looking. I decided to do something about it. I picked a morning when I didn't have anything going on. I walked to the busiest intersection near my apartment, the one with the light that takes forever to change, where people bunch up waiting. I had a song in my head, something I'd been listening to all week. Simple melody, easy to belt if you're not thinking about it. I was thinking about it. I stood at the corner and the light was red and people were filing in around me, and I just didn't start. I kept almost starting and then not starting. My hands were already sweating. That surprised me because I hadn't even done anything yet. The light changed. Everyone crossed. I crossed with them, silent. I stopped on the other side and turned around and waited for the light to go red again. Second time. Same thing. People gathered. I stood there with my mouth closed and my heart going faster than I wanted to admit, and I thought, you are scared of this. This specific thing. Standing in a crowd and letting your voice out. That's what's happening. The light went green again. I didn't move. I just stood at the corner and opened my mouth and started singing. It was bad. Not bad like I'm being modest, bad like I was shaking and my voice came out thin and I was probably flat and I sounded nothing like I do when I'm alone. Someone walking past turned and looked at me. A woman waiting for a ride share glanced up from her phone and then glanced away. A guy in a delivery jacket kind of smirked. I kept going. My chest felt like something was pressing on it. My face was hot. I was completely certain that every single person within earshot was cataloging this moment and would remember it forever. I knew that wasn't true, and I still felt it completely. But I kept going. And then, maybe 2 minutes in, maybe three, something just quietly started to ease. Not gone, not resolved, just lighter, like the thing that had been holding the pressure finally got tired and let go a little. The light cycled through twice while I stood there singing. A few more people looked. Most didn't. One kid, maybe 8 years old, stared at me with his full face and then looked up at the woman next to him like he was checking to see if this was allowed. She didn't react. He looked back at me. I kept singing. I finished the song. Then I walked to the next intersection. Same thing happened. Heart racing, hands a little damp, that same tight feeling in the chest right before I started. But smaller than the first time. Not by a lot. Enough to notice. I sang the same song because I already knew the words, and I didn't want to give myself a new problem to solve. A couple of people walked past. One guy nodded at me like it was a normal thing. That almost made it worse. The casual acknowledgement, like he'd just normalized something I was white-knuckling my way through. I finished, walked to the third intersection. By that point, my body had stopped doing the full alarm sequence. There was still something there, a low-level self-consciousness, a background awareness of being visible and audible in a way I wasn't used to. But the sweating had stopped and my chest felt normal, and I started the song without having to talk myself into it. I don't know exactly what changed between the first corner and the third one. Nothing outside me changed. The people were the same kind of people, going about the same kind of morning. The street sounded the same. I just wasn't bracing for it anymore. I stood there singing and thought, huh. That was kind of the whole thought, just, huh. I walked home after that, got a coffee, sat outside for a while. I wasn't buzzing with anything, wasn't emotional about it. I just felt quieter than I had when I left. Not emptied out, settled maybe, like something that had been sitting at a low hum in the background had finally been addressed and could stop running. What I kept coming back to was how invisible the fear had been. I never would have described myself as afraid of public singing. I never would have listed it if someone asked me about my fears. It wasn't on the list because I'd never looked for it. I'd just been automatically, quietly avoiding it for years and calling it something else, not wanting to draw attention, being considerate of other people's space, not being the person who makes a scene. All of those things sound reasonable until you notice they all point in the same direction. The thing that got me wasn't the fear exactly, it was that I hadn't known it was there. If I'd missed this one, what else was I moving around without noticing? What else was I framing as a preference when it was actually just an avoidance? I don't have a clean answer to that. I don't think I'm supposed to yet. But I still walk past that intersection sometimes. And sometimes, if it's not too crowded, I hum a little louder than I need to, not to prove anything, not because I've fixed something, just because now I know that's a choice. Before, it didn't even feel like a choice. It was just what I did, the quiet version, the under the breath version, the version that doesn't ask anyone to notice. That's the thing, really. It wasn't about the singing. It was about noticing I'd been keeping myself quiet and not knowing I was doing it.